Hey, Doc.
Yep.
We're up. Welcome to Friday.
Well, I didn't see that coming, but great because it just says Dr. Berg Live. So I'm assuming everyone can see me. So welcome. And anything I say is not meant to provide medical care, but I want to provide more alternative type suggestions. And so if you hear anything that even comes close to curing any medical diseases, definitely take it with a grain of salt. And let's just dive right in. There's a lot of questions lined up. So see if we can get to everyone today.
All right, we certainly will. And by the way, folks, sorry for the little glitch there. We have introduced Rumble into the mix, and we're very glad to have them because they feel that we have the freedoms to speak about anything we want, and they trust you to make decisions on your own health care and what you listen to or not. So that's fantastic. We will not be on Rumble today. We just got an error message, so we're still working on that. So, folks on Facebook and YouTube, thanks for your great patronage, and we look forward to seeing you on Rumble next week. Why don't we kick it right off with social media? Jane from YouTube, can neuropathy be reversed with intermittent fasting?
I think it can. I really do. But of course, it all depends on what you eat when you're not fasting. But the intermittent fasting is a very potent weapon against anything related to glucose, insulin, because guess what? When you're fasting, you're not consuming any sugar. So that's going to instantly help your nervous system and help those things associated that with diabetes in general.
All right, very good. Let's stay on YouTube for a minute with Samantha. My lymph nodes were removed during breast cancer. I started intermittent fasting and lost 30 kilograms. Good for you. That's wonderful. And for us over here on the non-metric system, I guess that's about 60, 70 pounds. Started lifting weights and have noticed that the arm in which the lymph nodes were removed is noticeably larger than the other arm. Is this something I should be concerned about?
It's one of those things that you're going to have to get a test to see what's happening. I do know that anytime you do surgery to remove, especially like the lymphatic system, now we have less lymphatic system. What is the lymphatic system? It's like the backup to your circulation. And so at the very end of your capillaries, all this blood flow goes through into your lymph system, and it can act as a reservoir. So apparently maybe you're getting a bit of a backup of lymph in that arm, in which case it doesn't have a pump. So you're just going to have to maintain consistent exercise to keep things flowing through that area.
All right, very good. In addition to some great guests that are international, sort of, Michelle from Calgary. I'm not going to put you on right yet, Michelle, but I want to say and let everybody know who else is listening. So we'd like to say a good morning to all of our viewers joining us today from the UK, Canada, Mexico, Germany, Oman, St. Lucia, Jordan, Eritrea. Let's see, South America, New Zealand, Poland, Norway, Japan, India, Algeria, the Czech Republic, Morocco, Brunei, Israel, Austria, France, Egypt, Pakistan, Nigeria, Scotland, been there recently, the Virgin Islands, Colombia, Ethiopia, Nepal, Taiwan, the Netherlands, Belgium, Ghana, South Korea, Sweden, Australia, Portugal, Uzbekistan, Ukraine, Togo, is that right? And our producer is going to correct my mispronunciation, but it's Togo, and we're glad you're there wherever you are. Spain, Ireland, Zambia, Switzerland, Trinidad and Tobago, Iran, the Philippines, Greece, Qatar, Italy, Saudi Arabia, Liechtenstein, Jamaica, Peru, Bermuda, Romania, Argentina, and of course, all across these United States, including one of our upcoming guests, Michelle in Calgary, Canada, So welcome, everybody. Oh, and my producer gave me a green light. Togo is correct. So thank goodness I said that correctly. He's our grammarian, and he makes me feel small publicly on the show every week when I pronounce something wrong. But that's just him. All right, let's see. Let's go back to social media. Let's see. This person is calling themselves 3P Soup from YouTube. I'm a 31-year-old breastfeeding mother and have lost 20 pounds. Good for you. Just by changing my diet. I now weigh 130 pounds. I just started high-intensity training and my period went away. Negative pregnancy test. Could this be a symptom of low iron?
It's hard to tell. You'd have to do some type of test to see maybe what's going on hormonally. A good test would kind of tell you, but there's even a really cool evaluation that I'm going to be doing some videos on It's called metabolomics. My wife calls it metaboloni because it's hard to pronounce. But metabolomics is a way to kind of do a deep dive to see what's happening with your chemistry dynamically and a lot more data than a typical blood test. But if you get a hormone test just to find out what's going on, maybe you need to tweak what you're eating, because if you're doing the healthy version of the ketogenic diet and getting all your nutrients, you shouldn't have that problem. So I would make sure that the foods are nutrient dense. So that's kind of, I can't evaluate without knowing what you're eating. So that's my best advice.
Okay, well, I've been bragging about our Canadian guest, so why don't we bring her on the air? I'm going to unmute you, Michelle, and we're glad you took your time out to be on, and you are on with Dr. Berg. Michelle, go ahead.
Hi, Michelle. Calgary. I visited Calgary in college. It was a wonderful trip going through Canada, and I think we saw Lake Louise and Banff, and beautiful up there.
I think you're muted, Michelle.
Needs to be unmuted.
Thank you so much. Yes, okay, you're welcome to come back to our beautiful land anytime.
Awesome.
So go ahead with your question.
Right. Thank you so much, Steve. So you, Dr. Berg, I thank you so much. And I'm hoping you can unravel a bit of a mystery here. It's with regard to a strep infection. It occurred in 2014 after a root canal extraction. So the maxilla, actually, I heard it crack as the tooth was extracted. And of course, the bacteria that had been living there for many years became bloodborne. So subclinical, nobody caught it, but 3 weeks to the hour following the procedure, I had tremendous symptoms of inflammation. I had actually just started on my menstrual cycle and was clotting heavily. I mean, extremely heavily. And this was all very unusual for me. Now, this was not picked up for 9 months. So I went through an extreme cytokine storm, no antibiotics until 9 months later. So I had developed antibodies and went from there to be denied medical care because, of course, I was over 40, I was female, and strep infection is only supposed to occur in the throat. So I developed adult onset pandas and went through years of antibiotic treatment, the whole amoxicillin, Keflex, and then up to a very strong, broad spectrum, newer antibiotic. And so since then, my gut has been on and off and on and off. So you are the practitioner I am so honored to be in front of to ask you, how do I fix my gut, please?
Well, that's not uncommon to have this infection leach out from some work on the dental area, especially if it's a root canal. I mean, because you open up a lot of possibilities for microbes leaching into the system and then going systemic. I mean, they found inside plaquing in your arteries, inside calcification in a joint, like in your knee. They find bacteria that lives in the teeth. Like what? That's wild. So I'm assuming you're doing some pretty comprehensive probiotics.
I did for many years. I tried multiple brands. To give you a little bit of background, I'm a traditional foodie, farm girl, former Weston Price chapter leader. So I'm with you all the way.
Wow.
My menu is pretty clean, sugar pretty non-existent. My kale smoothie with my lemon rinds.
Good.
In the morning.
Good.
But there is something awry. Could be my slight addiction to roasted almonds, but
Mm.
I'm open to any guidance, please.
Yeah, I think if there's anything inflammatory in the gut, it's going to be, you should test is trying the carnivore for a while, because I think the fiber, any fiber, including from nuts, could be an issue. So that's kind of, do it healthily, add the seafood and eggs and things like that. And, but I think that's one thing that's going to help you with the gut. The other thing is, I don't know, maybe this might work, might not work, but you need some type of natural remedy for the systemic infection that you had. And that could range anywhere from colloidal silver to potentially maybe some garlic, but now we're dealing with more of a plant. So you may or may not deal with okay with that. Wormwood extract would be important. Any type of remedy that doesn't have alcohol in it, maybe a water soluble or based product that is more of something that actually works really good for funguses or parasites. The black walnut would be good, and just start testing things like that. But I do understand the problem. I think you're gonna have to do some good periodic prolonged fasting with that. Yeah, it's one of those things where we don't know yet, but we have to just try things. Okay, did that work? Okay, yes or no, and keep trying things. But I could see what you're up against. Yeah, that starts leaching out, and then all those years of antibiotics. So, even to replace your microbes after a round of antibiotics, it could take up to 6 months. And even then, you might not be able to replace everything. So that's something that you can also experiment with different types of probiotics with. There's also some new things related to that as well. That's not the probiotic itself. It's all the additional factors. I don't even know the name of it, but it's something new that it's like the whole complex of what is in a microbial probiotic product. But also, of course, cabbage or sauerkraut. I don't know if that would help, but I know that's a great probiotic, and it has a lot of lactobacillus microbes. So I would just experiment with that. If you get worse, then do carnivore and just see how you feel.
Okay, thank you. I do sip the brine from the fermented vegetables
Oh,
to
good.
avoid. I've
Oh,
gone in and out of high fiber, raw with digestive enzymes. Being an Albertan farm girl, meat is always on the menu.
great.
Yeah, Artemisian, the wormwood, that seems to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm considering the biocidin as a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And what else has been effective? I mean, definitely doing, as you suggested, it's almost like a parasitic cleanse, but it did really reduce the bacterial colonization. But yeah, it's I'm leaning on you, Doc. I'm leaning on you.
That's great. Well, Michelle, listen, thanks so much for coming on with us. We're running out a little bit of time. Doc, did you have some closing thoughts for her?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. So think about this. An antibiotic, what does it do? It kills off bacteria. It doesn't kill off fungus. It doesn't kill off yeast. It doesn't kill off mold. So we wiped out this thing that's supposed to keep these other microbes in check. So that's why I said, antifungal type stuff, anti-yeast or anti-mold might be the best bet. And as you build up the bacteria, because you don't have that that protection against those other microbes.
All right, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. We appreciate it and hope to hear the great recovery story from you in the months ahead. And we also, part of our show, have some exciting, quiz questions. And Doc, there's the first one.
Okay. All right. So let's see here if I could find the question. I don't see it, Steve.
Let me read it for you and the audience. The question is, how much ATP does a healthy body make per day? So how much ATP does a healthy body make?
So what is ATP? ATP is the energy currency of the body. So that's made by the mitochondria. So tell us, how much ATP does your body make in a given day on average?
All right, very good. Latch onto that audience, and soon to be Rumble again next week. Let's go to YouTube. Ola from YouTube. I have Graves' disease. I started keto a month ago. I want to order your electrolyte formula, but I can't handle any iodine because of my disease. What alternatives would you suggest? Good question.
Yeah. So we use Graves is more of a hyperthyroid. So you don't want to add more acceleration, more thyroid hormones like iodine. So maybe you want to do the opposite of that, things that could inhibit iodine, which is cruciferous vegetables. That might be one little thing you might want to try with that. The other thing is that apparently there's been some good success with vitamin B1, natural B1 with Graves. I do think I need to do a video on that because more and more people have Graves and they're like, what the heck can be done for that? And from a natural way, because as you all know, there's a lot of filtering going on in YouTube. So when you're trying to find these remedies, boy, in the past you'd find them. Now you can't find them. In fact, you can't even find me. So you have to type Dr. Berg in this topic. But I was just looking at that, the filtering on various things. They're even filtering, like, especially if you write natural remedies or alternative blah, blah, blah. They have those, and all you see is this medical. So this is why we're on Rumble. This is why we're going to be on different other social media platforms.
All right, very good. Pam from Facebook, what helps out with dry eyes?
Vitamin A. So that's what you need. And you might say, well, I'm taking vitamin A. Well, don't take it as a supplement. You want to get it from food because unless you're doing cod liver oil, because they usually use a synthetic version and you don't want that part. But if you're doing egg yolks, maybe some butter, grass-fed, you're going to get vitamin A, cod liver oil. But also realize that it could be not the dietary, it could be just be your gallbladder. It could be that you need to support that with bile salts to be able to extract and absorb that vitamin A.
Fantastic. Okay, we could fill the show with this sort of thing, but we won't because we want your questions and get them answered. But for instance, Nancy from Facebook, wow, it's amazing how far-reaching your show and the many people who are following you are. Dr. Berg, you have helped me a lot. Thanks so much. I have learned so much from you, and that's true. And the evidence of that is, again, people from around the world trying to find out a way to live healthily to avoid getting cancer and so on. Why cure things when you can prevent them, for goodness sakes? So anyway,
you have to make sure it's also not okay to prevent things too. So
I'm sorry.
You can't prevent things.
Okay, so no preventing.
What we can do though is we can actually just eat healthy and maybe avoid it. Maybe that's a little different terminology. So let's just avoid those problems.
I agree completely. Let's see. We fixed the dry eyes, or made some suggestions. I'm so scared to say we didn't fix anything. We cured dry eyes. Okay. So JJ from Facebook, does cayenne pepper have health benefits?
Yeah. It has a lot of phytonutrients. It's good as an analgesic. It's good loaded with vitamin C. It's anti-inflammatory. But typically people consume it a lot of times for pain and inflammation.
All right. Let's see. I am looking here. Oh, Charmin from Facebook. I have developed in my right foot. What could be the cause? Terry, I'm calling you out. She didn't say what was developed in her right foot, but we're going to find out.
Maybe we can just guess.
Yeah, her right foot is sore.
A bunion. She has a bunion.
It could be.
No,
or
gout. I don't know.
Plantar fasciitis. We'll keep guessing, but Terry will correct it. But why don't we go to our first quiz question and get some answers to that? And it asked, how much ATP does a healthy body make per day? And 45% of our respondents say it's between 100 and 200 grams every day. 35% say your entire body weight plus 20%, and 20% say more than 200 grams. Do we have any winners?
We do. It's an entire body weight. Now that's going to probably shock you because it's like, what? So what's interesting about ATP is that it's not stored. It's not stored. So your body makes it on demand and it makes a lot of it. through this enzyme called ATP synthase. And this little enzyme is a mini turbine. It's very tiny. In fact, you can get 100,000 of them on the width of a hair. So it's tiny, and they're spinning very fast. And every time they spin one rotation, they make 3 ATPs. And you can imagine they're spinning about 8,000 a minute, 8,000 rotations a minute. So they're working hard deep inside your body, and they're generating ATP to give you energy. So, I'm going to release a video on this because I think if you can appreciate what's going on deep inside your cells, it may motivate you to eat healthier and avoid that donut, Steve.
It's been a while. Every once in a while, audience, the lights flashing at Krispy Kreme. I mean, really, you're without choice at that point. You either slam down the accelerator or just turn in and succumb to it and then beg Dr. Berg for forgiveness in the future. That works. So I would rather ask forgiveness than permission. That's kind of my motto. All right. So anyway, Natasha from Facebook, what's the best regimen of supplements for someone who has autism?
Sulforaphane apparently has been known to help that condition from broccoli sprouts or not even the broccoli sprouts, but the broccoli microgreens grown in soil, which would be the best if you can find them. But if not, you can grow them. We have a course almost done on that. So you can kind of grow your own microgreens right in your house and supply that addition to your salad.
Okay, very good. We're gonna.
I've released some other videos on autism. There's some great data, great things that you can do to see change. So again, when you do searching, go Dr. Berg and then that autism, because if you don't, you're not going to find it.
Well, we're going to remedy that soon. We've got the missing data. Charmin from Facebook, I have developed numbness in my right foot. What could be the cause?
Okay, the first thing that pops out is something called peripheral neuropathy, and in which case that's more from diabetes, in which case you need benfotiamine and alpha lipoic acid, which is a great remedy to resolve that. And of course, also changing your diet at the same time.
Okay, very good. It is time for our second quiz question of the day, and I understand you're not seeing that, so I will read it on your behalf with all due respect. And it asks, what is the best natural antidote for deadly mushrooms and deadly snake bites? Goodness, I hope I don't need that. Go ahead and dig into that, audience. And let's see. Let's find another cool question to ask here. There's another compliment. I'm not going to read that, but it's there. And let's see here. Oh, and also, people get mad when they're not mentioned, so we'd like to also, we heard from Finland, Malaysia, and Antarctica that wants a shout out. So some research thing in the blowing snow are listening. But what do they have? All they have to eat down there is penguins, and that's like keto, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's
oh,
what I
yeah,
was
for
thinking.
sure.
So they're in good shape, like it or not. Okay, let's see here. Anna from YouTube. My mother-in-law is 79 and has been hospitalized with sepsis. Ouch. From a UTI. What recommendations would you offer her?
Well, the same thing I would recommend to Michelle is it's kind of a systemic infection. You want to do some natural thing like the garlic extract. You can do thyme, sage, a lot of different things. Wormwood extract would be good. And of course, you need to start beefing up your probiotics. And one thing that these yeast, fungus, mold creatures love to eat is sugar. So you have to get off sugar. And they especially like milk sugar. So cut down on the ice cream.
Okay, you heard it. All right, and now we have another guest in the green room without camera. Latch, can you hear us? We'd like to bring you on with Dr. Berg.
Yes.
Very good. So Latch we're going to pretend it's a phone call. Latch, go ahead with your call for Dr. Berg.
Hi, Dr. Berg. Thanks for having me on the call. And we are a huge fan of yours and my family in Australia and India. They love you so much. And even at home, I have a separate rack filled with all your supplements. So my question is, so my mother, who is currently in India, has been suffering from trigeminal neuralgia and has been taking Tegretol tablet for almost 2 years. She is 53-year-old, and I would like to know if you recommend the gamma knife surgery as a potential treatment, or do you think there are any other options available for her, because she's suffering from that really painful situation once in a week. So I would like to know the solution from you.
So there's a big correlation between that and some viral origin that kind of comes out of remission and goes back in remission. So the question is, how do you keep this virus in remission so it doesn't go on that nerve and cause inflammation? One of the biggest things that I would do, and it's usually something related to stress. There's some stressor that is chronic, and the person usually, I mean, that's like majority of the time. So you're going to have to find out whatever that is and do something to resolve that. The other thing too is you can, instead of trying to, you kill a virus, you just build up your immune system. So a lot of zinc, a lot of vitamin D, vitamin C foods, get off the sugar. It's obviously on one side of her face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the main question, and I can't really get into this in this conversation, is something must have triggered it. What happened just before it happened to get the clue?
Right. Yeah. So she had one of her tooth removed, and I think that might be a reason. And after a couple of years, when she met a neurologist, they did an MRI scan and concluded that there are two nerves that are getting overlapped on each other, and that's how she gets pain every week.
So I would say that if you find a really good holistic dentist that specializes in that, a lot of times they can take and they can find stuff that other dentists don't really find. Most dentists will take an x-ray of the jaw, and they can visualize like a loss of bone, maybe some deeper infection around the bone, in which case they need to clean that out, because that can be a chronic source of bacteria that you can't get any other way. It can't get out of there any other way. So I would find a really good dentist that can evaluate and deal with that. But again, this is not uncommon to have, this, unfortunately, there's too many root canals done, and then that can infect things and it spreads. And unless you really specialize in this, it's hard to do it correctly without creating other problems.
Okay. Just one last thing, Dr. Berg. So I did some research, and I found this gamma knife surgery where they kind of destroy that nerve, and because of that, she'll not feel the pain anymore in the future. So do you think for her age, it's a viable option? Because she's really suffering day in and day out, and the painkillers or any tablets are not working at all.
I can't tell yes or no. All I could say is I would evaluate the pros and the cons and the advantages and disadvantages, weigh it out, and try to do as much alternative as you can. And if that doesn't work, then you have to step it up, and that might be an option. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
yeah. Thank you so much,
Well,
Doctor.
thank you, Latch. And we're so sorry we couldn't put Latch's visage up, his picture, because he's extraordinarily handsome. But alas, his camera just didn't work. So sorry, Latch. You're going to not be on the cover of any magazine until you can fix that. So I hope we wish your mother-in-law all the best. I think it was mother-in-law. Anyway, let's move on to something equally interesting, and that is the answer to quiz question number 2. And once again, I'll tell the audience what that was. What is the best natural antidote for deadly mushrooms and deadly snake bites? And the audience, 74% of them say it's milk thistle, 16% say it's baking soda, 10% say it's vitamin B12, of which I have some.
The most deadly mushroom is called death cap, and no symptoms initially for I think 6 hours. Then you start getting some GI symptoms. Then those go away, and usually the person will say, "Wow, this is pretty tasty. I think I'm better." But all the while, it's going right to your liver and destroying it, creating necrosis and jaundice, and then within 12 hours to 24 hours, that's when the damage starts happening. And then if you don't get it in time, you need a liver transplant. So it's very deadly. But what's interesting, there was a researcher from Santa Clara, California, I think, that developed a Santa Clara protocol, which they inject the active ingredient in milk thistle. And that is a great remedy. So if you're out in the woods and you happen to decide to eat a poisonous mushroom, okay, or you get bit by a snake, you need to find a milk thistle. You have to know what it looks like. We have it all around out here. It's this prickly, this plant that has these little beautiful purple flowers, but then it has these white little fluffy things that connect to the seed. Start taking those out, start chewing the seeds immediately, because that is the antidote. It'll save your liver. It is incredible capacity to protect the liver against Tylenol poisoning, snake bites, other types of poisoning. So, and even if someone takes medication on a regular basis, they should be taking milk thistle, from my viewpoint, just to protect the liver. And so the answer was milk thistle.
Wow, fascinating. All right, good for you. And by the way, in the green room, I noticed Faith's head was shaking up and down. She agreed. So, Faith, you got the quiz question correct, and unwittingly let the audience know by your head shake. So anyway, let's go to quiz question number 3. And it says, question, if your friend, quote in quotes, ate too much at a social event and wanted to neutralize, I know who that friend is, neutralize some of the bad effects, what should they do? So audience,
yeah. And I missed one word. It should be if they ate too much sugar. So if your friend ate too much sugar at a social event, and what can they do to neutralize some of the bad effects?
Okay, very good. Well, Faith, we'd love to talk to you and give you a chance to talk with Dr. Berg. So if you've got one question and belt it out in 30 seconds, we want you to come on and go. So unmute yourself and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Dr. Berg. You are my hero. Thank you so much for your time. So my condition, I have plantar fasciitis for 13 years, since 2010. I have the pain in my lower leg and calf, and I also have floater in my both eyes for maybe 3 decades. So
what's wrong with your eyes?
Floaters.
Oh, floaters. Okay.
Since May, I start to watch your video. I did everything, stretching, vitamin D3, everything in the video. And I took a lot of supplement. So how, is there anything else I can do? What else supplement I should take for plantar fasciitis, like pain and so on? Another question is that and recently I also take your electrolyte and B1. It's excellent. I like it. Another question is during fasting. I fast 48 hours often. During fasting, I take your electrolyte. I take nutritional yeast, turmeric powder, cinnamon powder, spirulina powder, mushroom powder, moringa powder, wheatgrass powder, clove powder, MSM powder. So I took a lot of different supplement powder during fasting. Is that too much? Do they break my fast?
Yeah. So, well, you're trying to get rid of inflammation. That's kind of your goal. And it's hard to know if that's helping you or not, because it's so many things. It's like throwing the kitchen sink at it. So you might want to try things out, like just try one at a time and see how you respond. If the person has inflammation, and it sounds like you're doing all the right things with the vitamin D and all these other things, and if we still have a problem, then I would suspect there could be some inflammation in your gut. In which case, because if you I'll know some people, they'll be doing all the right things and the diet sounds great, but they have some deep inflammation in the gut, and the fiber from some of the products or from food might be stirring things up. So they never really get past that. So it's something that they might feel better when they fast, but then when they add a fiber from a supplement, even a turmeric, that can irritate things. So I just would test and see if that makes you feel better or worse. I will say, if someone has a problem with the vascular system, and they have pain in the lower legs, one thing that's really good for vascular, not just arteries and capillaries, but also the venous system, like spider veins and varicose veins, is potent bioflavonoids from the lemon peel. So the whole thing, you take the whole lemon, just like I did in the morning, put in the blender, I put a little electrolytes on there, blend it up with water, slug that down. Boy, you're taking, with just in that lemon, there's well over 6,000 different flavonoids, not to mention things to create all these cool effects, especially for your arteries and veins and capillaries. So that would be a good thing to take, and it's part of the vitamin C complex. So I think with you, it's a matter of we better kind of cut back and take one thing at a time to see what makes it better or worse. But I'm glad that you're doing the fasting, because it's probably going to produce probably the biggest change.
Thank you so much, Dr. Berg.
Thank you so much, Faith. Well, I tell you what, Faith reported that she was a little nervous to come on, but she handled that like a seasoned news anchor. Just unbelievable performance. So good for you, and we'd love to hear back from you as well about the great results you had from consulting, but not getting cures, from Dr. Berg. By the way, you'll be able to get real remedies on Rumble when you're over there. So we'll be back next week. We problem. Let's see. Ladies Love Cool is the handle this person. I'm assuming it's a female. From YouTube, which vitamins best support the vagus nerve?
The vagus nerve is the parasympathetic nerve in the body. It's the largest, and it goes into the heart, it goes into the pacemakers, it goes into the digestive system, all the viscera. It's called the wandering nerve. And the best way to support that nerve from a nutritional level would be some natural B1 and also choline. And it just so happens that the food that has the most choline is the egg yolk. Now, from another angle, it's part of the parasympathetic nervous system, which, by the way, very soon we're going to have a really cool, inexpensive device that you can get to do your own research on your vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. And a couple ways to improve it. Number one, take the foot off the gas pedal more, and that's ease off on the flight or fight, the sympathetic nervous system. So your exercise, right? Give it more time to recover. When you do exercise, give more time in between the intervals when you work out. Get more sleep. Do things to improve stress. These are all things that are going to support the vagus nerve. But I'm really excited to release that, because I just spent the last month and a half trying to make this simple for people, and I think I did it. So I'll be creating these videos and it took me a long time just to there's different tests that you can do from this one device. So coming up with the right name that really represents what it does has been difficult, but I think we nailed it, and I think you'll like it, because when you're learning a new thing, it's like you want to keep it simple.
That is so great. Okay, folks, we got an immediate answer from the audience on the question that asked, if your friend, in quote marks, ate too much sugar at a social event, what wanted to neutralize the bad effects, what should they do after such a slip of conscience? And our audience, 79% of them say it's apple cider vinegar, 11% say drink a lot more water, 5% say exercise, and 5% say start fasting immediately. And I'm going for the exercise. I don't usually answer, but exercise is my guess too, with the 5%.
Well, everyone is right. I wouldn't say drinking more water is going to be as helpful as these other things, but everyone's correct. So I'm just going to go down the list. One is to exercise it off. Number two would be the opposite of vinegar to help your blood sugars. But also, if you're realize this, that there's one carbohydrate that it's not affected by insulin, and that would be fiber. So if you were to accidentally be forced by gunpoint to eat some sugar, if you ate some fiber right at the same time, that could buffer that insulin spike. So that's just a side note there. And also realize, if you just replace what sugar tends to pull out of you potassium, magnesium, vitamin B1, and put those back in your body, you won't nearly have the complications that you would have had if you didn't do it. So these are a few things. I'm going to cover a lot more in a video coming up real soon. So there's a lot of things you can do, but those are some.
That's wonderful. There is a remedy. And let's move along with the next question. We're getting through them today. So it asks, why is fattier protein healthier than leaner protein? Audience? Any comments, Dr. Berg? Not yet.
That's a good, well, not yet, because I have to see what people say, but
Well,
no,
that's
that's the question. That's a good question.
Okay, very good. Well, we have someone from where it rains all the time. Christy from Springdale, Washington is up next. And Christy, if you would put your umbrella away and take yourself off mute, we will have you on air with Dr. Berg. And there you go. One question, 30 seconds, go.
All right. Well, hello, Dr. Berg. My husband and I, Monty, are longtime fans. So thank you for all you do. So I hit a plateau with my keto diet. And so thanks to one of your advisors, I did a prolonged fast. I did a 48-hour fast twice. And then I just completed a 72-hour fast yesterday. So both all 3 times, my husband and I both experienced diarrhea on the second and the third day. We take B1, potassium, sea salt, electrolyte, vitamin D, everything that you suggest. But I don't know. We don't know where the diarrhea is coming from.
Okay, so you're talking about on the fast itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in some people, when you take the electrolytes, it does affect the peristalsis, and it can create loose bowels. So I would just take less of that, or and if you have diarrhea, just don't take any of it. But that's probably what you're running into. So you just need a little less of it, and especially if you're not eating any food, it's a bit more concentrated. And also, when you go on a fast, the requirement for nutrients goes way down because your body starts becoming efficient. Yeah, you could overdo it on the electrolytes, and that can create the diarrhea. That because we're affecting the peristalsis and things like that. In fact, it's a great remedy for constipation. But when you have diarrhea, the best thing to do is to avoid that. And also avoid the bile salts, the gallbladder formula, because that can also cause loose bowels. I don't know if you're taking that one.
No, I'm not.
Okay. But again, it's great for constipation. And then, so maybe you need to also add a probiotic in there, or when you start eating, and just to start to stabilize the gut, so you have all the right things. But yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah. So I actually, after I passed, I do drink kefir. And when I completed it, my fast, it has gotten better. It was just odd to us because we don't have anything in our stomach. But
Right, exactly.
So we'll just reduce maybe take half of your electrolyte or not?
I would just take half. And test the waters. And I think that's really what you're running into. You just don't need as much. So yeah.
All right. And then how often can you do a fast? So like if you do a weekly 48-hour fast?
Absolutely. That would be very beneficial. If you could do that, that would be extremely therapeutic to your body. Yeah, you can do fasting. I mean, think about this. There are people that I know with cancer that jump right into fasting for 40 days. Okay. And they see huge changes. Other people do more of aggressive fasting on a regular basis. It's just like you have to try it to realize that, wow, this is actually makes my body better. It doesn't make it worse. On some people that are a bit frail and they don't have a lot of fat to lose, they're going to have to do things like add some amino acids, not protein, but some amino acids to keep that protein up and really monitor what they take so they don't have a loss of muscle and they don't have an energy drop. But for the majority of people, they'll do fine.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we just really enjoy the prolonged fast.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. I've been doing it seriously since October 2020.
I'm impressed. Wow, that's great. Hey, you're welcome. You know, some people can't, they just, they resist fasting because they feel like, wow, I'm starving myself. But you're actually eating when you're not eating, you're eating your fat. So yeah, so now I just have to talk people into doing more cold immersion because for some reason, people like Steve just can't do that. I don't know why.
No, but listen, Christy, at the risk of sounding condescending, I'm very proud of you for bringing up diarrhea. I'm such a child, I could just never talk about it on the air. So you're really something else. Very mature young lady, and your husband too.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move along. Let's see. Do we have any? Mariana from YouTube. You know, we were a little fussy with YouTube, but we love being on here and providing a platform. So let's just keep going as long as they let us. Mariana for YouTube, is vitamin B12 in your nutritional yeast flakes? If so, why isn't it in your nutritional yeast tablets?
Well, we just wanted a pure yeast product, nutritional yeast in the flakes. It should be in the product. So we added a natural, the methyl version of the B12 in the nutritional product, but the other one we didn't. And, you know, we just kept it as a nutritional yeast simply because, I mean, if you're following even a fraction of what I recommend, you should be able to get your B12 easily from a little bit of the red meat or the other foods that you eat, animal products like eggs or fish. So you'll get enough B12 from that. And even if you don't, believe it or not, if you're doing even things like wheatgrass juice powder, that grass does not make any B12. There's no plants that make B12, but we tested and there was like double the amount of B12. Where did that come from? Microbes. Interesting. But as soon as you start sterilizing it, you kill the microbe, and then you don't get any more B12. But yeah, I didn't put that in there just because it's not necessarily a pure supplement. It's also has some other things in there that people like to put on their salad. I use that nutritional yeast flakes on my salad. It's just really good. It's kind of like a little cheesy, but it does give me the B vitamins, but not B12.
Okay, so I had the great honor of meeting with Dr. Berg this weekend, and he prepared a salad or a keto meal precisely. He said, "What do you want, Steve? You know, a double cheese, fries?" I said, "No, I'm going to go ahead and try what you do." And so he had this big salad serving bowl, and I took my fork and started to put a couple of leaves onto my plate. He goes, "No, Steve, that's your salad." It was huge. It was like a feed bag. But he had, I think, a little flaky powder stuff. He had the goat cheese, you know, great olive oil and so on. And then a pork patty that came from some sweet pig that contributed that to us, and some sort of cheese. And I'll tell you, it was fascinating. I ate almost all of the feed bag and the little patty and so on. So I really got a sense of what living like Dr. Berg is. And I'm telling you, the guy is strict. You know, he puts his whatever it is where his mouth is. Anyway, he eats that way. And I felt great the whole day. And then one of those damn blinking Krispy Kreme lights got me on the way home. No, I didn't do it, Doc. I went all the way home.
Well, it was funny. It was funny because you thought that was the salad for both of us. So you were
I did.
No. That's you can eat the whole thing. I mean, that was like even less than my salad, but you almost finished it. So that was good. Good job on that.
Yeah, that's after. Okay, one more for Aunt Gladys, and then you want one for little Timmy, who's sick. So he encouraged me to eat as much as I could. All right. So why? Here's a quiz question. We got an answer for it. Number 4. Why is fattier protein healthier than leaner protein? And let's see, 80% of our respondents say it's because of a lower insulin response. 10% say it's easier on the liver, and 10% say it keeps you fuller longer.
Okay, so you're correct with the insulin because there's something called the insulin index. It's different than the glycemic index, and it's all the non-carbohydrate things that affect insulin, like lean protein. And the worst of everything is the whey protein as far as stimulating insulin. So if you're trying to reduce insulin because you have some type of metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance, you should have fattier meat. Like, let me give you an example, like maybe a hamburger versus a lean steak, maybe a whole egg versus the egg whites. So I did a video on this. You can search it out. But yeah, fattier protein is way better than and especially like people start doing that. They call it clean plant based protein. Really? So it's just clean because it's lean. I mean, plants don't give you a good source of protein. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's not a good source. It's not cleaner. It's not more bioavailable. And that's why you want to be a vegan on a via. Eat the animals who eat the grass so you can get the bioavailable form of these great nutrients, which are these cows are amazing. It's like this amazing machine of turning grass into steak. I mean, it just blows my mind. But anyway, Steve, don't get me started.
All right. Well, well, we all love to get you started because you make us healthier. Here's our final quiz question for the day, which asks, why would someone on statins take CoQ10? That is the question. And by the way, your poor audience had all questions, no true falsers, which allows you to just flip a coin. So you really had to work hard today with that. So answer that. And then let's go back to social media. Let's see, Cindy from Facebook, what can you tell us about EMFs and addressing EMF exposure with infrared saunas? That's interesting.
I don't have my testing device in front of me, but there's an EMF tester. It's worth it to check, get one. Tri-Field is one I recommend, but it's real simple. You just turn it on. It measures electrical fields as well as magnetic fields. And I think you can measure them together, but you'd be surprised. You start to sit in front of your computer and you're being bathed in these electromagnetic fields. So it's in quite a few places, and you might want to also check if you have an electric car because you're sitting in front of a battery. That's all I know about that. I haven't done any personal testing. But that being said, when you do infrared sauna type things, there's a lot of fascinating benefits, especially increasing through the infrared spike of melatonin, a different type of a source of melatonin that doesn't come from darkness. It comes from infrared. And by the way, that sauna provides a tremendous amount of that. So you're going to really build up your melatonin, which is, it's one of the best antioxidants. It's even apparently more potent than glutathione. So it's something that you should look at because of, to help maybe counter some of the effects of EMF. As far as a sauna in general goes, there are certain types of detoxes that you can detoxify certain types of radiation in the body, which is for a different topic. So I'm all for that. But the point is that EMFs, you have to be more aware of it. It's going to be the next kind of cigarette, or smoking, whatever it's going to be, or tobacco. It's going to be the next, because it's invisible. And we probably won't see a lot of this for years to come, but you should be aware of it now and try to limit the amount of EMF exposure, because especially with the child, especially with this on your skull right here, you're frying your brain. I think Logan Sneed, he came to my summit. He ended up with a brain tumor on one side, exactly where he used to talk to his girlfriend for hours and hours and hours on the phone, like right here. And he had this tumor right here. I wonder what triggered that. But of course, with the 5G and all that, it's becoming more of a problem. So I would do your own research and see if you can minimize exposure.
Very good. And by the way, at the beginning of every show, we brag about people coming in from all over the world. And any news on products available internationally? I know we had our Indian friend that had a whole cabinet.
India right now, and we're going into Canada, actually. So we're looking at that because our second highest YouTube watching countries, Canada, and just because I love Canada, and especially Alberta, so I have to, or Calgary, and we have to put supplements there because it's a beautiful. In fact, I wanted to practice in Vancouver at one time because I went through there and I'm like, where is this place? This is crazy beautiful. But I decided, well, let me just start off in Washington State. So I started practice there for 6 months, and I said, you know what? It rains just a little too much for me. It was every day. So I said, I can't take the rain. So then I moved down to the Mojave Desert. I practiced there for a while, and I'm like, wait, this is too dry. So then I moved to San Diego, and then I bounced around. So been around.
Very good. Well, by the way, Michelle from Calgary just did a backflip when you talked about the possibility of getting stuff up there. So that's terrific.
Sure.
They deserve to be healthy too, I think. Just charge them a premium. That's all. Make sure that we get the best deal down here. No, I'm kidding. Dr. Berg is very reasonable with all his products. And let's see. Quiz question number 5. We got to them all today thanks to the astute and quick audience. The last one asks, why would someone on statins take CoQ10? And 100% of our respondents say you need it because statins delete CoQ10 and potassium.
Yeah, it's not just statins. It's beta blockers and certain diabetic medications. What they do is like statins block the enzyme to make cholesterol. That's on the same pathway is where coenzyme Q10 works in through the mitochondria, and by helping transport electrons through this amazing battery machine that the mitochondria is. And so coenzyme Q10 is your body even makes it, but you can also get it from supplements. But that's the thing that actually allows the transportation of these electrons to make this battery, which is ATP. So if you're going to block ATP, now you're not going to be able to make it. Now, if you think about where you need a lot of energy, it's in the muscle, because without muscle, you can't move too well. If we took all your muscles out of your body, you're not going to be moving around too well. So in fact, the highest substance for coenzyme Q10 would be like heart meat or heart organ meat or muscle, like steak and hamburger and things like that. So if you're on a statin, you better be taking coenzyme Q10. And even if you're not on a statin, if you exercise and you can't seem to go very long, you could need that coenzyme Q10. So you might want to try that out. And I guess, Steve, you're trying to give a hint that we're out of time. So have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for your attention this long. And we'll talk to you next week, same time, same place.